Welcome to Sinister Heroes. I'm your host, Danny Iniquitous. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, this is a channel about Dungeons and Dragons where we try and take character classes and concepts and races and bring them into a darker, more edgier content and try and create characters that really reflect the darker parts of ourselves because that's where all the fun stuff is. If you like what we do here, please like, share, and subscribe. Please keep commenting. One of the greatest things about this channel is being able to hear some of you characters' concepts, some of the ideas you guys have, and some of the incredible things you got to do in game and some of the awesome DMs you've happened to had. Without further ado, we're going to jump into this week's video, the Tiefling. The Tiefling comes to us from the Player's Handbook. It has been a race that has been slowly more and more involved in the concepts of the game since the earlier editions. If you want to go back through the history, there is plenty for you to go through in the original alliterations of the Tieflings and how they came about to be where they are now. I won't be covering that because that is way too in-depth for me, and there's so much information and lore and theories and all great concepts behind it, and it is also good. It is something I really enjoy. I love this race. My first character was a Tiefling. It is just so great to have this race that, like, everybody hates. Like, people instinctively dislike you, distrust you, they throw rocks at you, they don't want you anywhere near them. They see you walk in, they are terrified, and they just want you out of wherever it is you are. You have this unsettling, not only visage, but just the stigma behind it. And yeah, it sucks if that was a real case, and some people really do go through that, and it's terrible. But playing that kind of a race in a game like D&D, I enjoy. I like walking into a room and have everything stare at me and just dislike me. It is a very scary thing. It really adds this great nuance to who your character is, because you know they don't trust you. If you read some of the descriptions and some of the lore, Tieflings don't trust other Tieflings because they know what they have to endure, and if they claim to be helpful, then why would they help you? Because you know it's very hard for them to be trusting, good, and moral, and now you have to take a leap and trust them. It is very hard for them to band together, and I love that concept because you always feel like a loner. Very exciting. It's this great edgy base that no matter what you do, you're this edgy character. It's fun, it's exciting, and a lot of the time it can be terrifying. If you're going into a holy city where there's a lot of lawful paladins there, oh, are you going to have a tough time? And I like that challenge. I like that feeling because it makes the world real to me. It makes my character have to face choices that they don't normally face. Like, you don't realize how great it is to be a human, elf, or dwarf and just walk into a town and everyone go, oh, hey, it's a dwarf, human, or elf. And nobody have any questions or complaints or problems. I like that I have to prove myself every moment in a game because in real life that would be pretty horrible. It would just be a tough existence. But in a game, I can sympathize with that character so easily. I can feel that, like, you know, that uncomfortableness, that uneasiness, that nervousness that comes out when you're in big groups or when you're in a new place and you don't know what that is, and like now you have to rely on these people to give you food and lodging and survive, and you have to make them want to hire you. That's cool. That's great. How do you make a whole group of people that have hated your people for generations trust you? And I love that. That drives me to play this character, this race, so much. It's so exciting. I really do love this race. It's definitely one of my favorites. The Tiefling from a mechanical point of view is very cool. It is one of the only races that had so many options to it as sub-race options. I think it really was a template for how they wanted to go forward with making races a little bit more malleable in their ability scores and abilities. The base Tiefling gives you a +2 to charisma. It gives you dark vision. It gives you resistance to fire, and you can read, write, common, and infernal. You have a normal walking speed of 30, and you're medium size. You live about the same length as humans. And depending on what bloodline you pick from the fiends, you get slightly different abilities. Some of them give you +1 to intelligence, constitution, strength, and they all give you different spells that are innate to you. The original Player's Handbook didn't have that. That came further down the line. It is a cool concept. I really think this is something that they wanted to kind of test out, because after this you saw a lot more elves with slightly different attributes, and dragonborns were kind of a little bit like that, but they changed it out with just the breath weapon being different as Fizbanstresureyofdragons. This is a very customizable race. It was the first race that was able to do this. If you use the feral tiefling from Swordcoast Adventures, you don't have +2 to charisma, you have +2 to dexterity. You keep a +1 to intelligence, so it makes you like this perfect arcane trickster. It does change things around as to what you want to do and what kind of subclasses and classes you want to play, which is a great thing. It gives you a lot of variety there. I encourage you, if you're going to play a tiefling, definitely take the time out to look at all of these spells and put them together and kind of make them reflective of the kind of character you want to make. There's a lot of different ones. They're all thematic to the different layers of hells, and I think that's cool. Unfortunately, there is no official Abyss tiefling. I really wish there was, but basically the way the lore works out, they kind of all come from the 9 hells. So it's kind of hard to pull that unless they start changing the lore around, which they may or may not do, but ultimately you have so many options already. I had this great concept for a tiefling wizard in the school of necromancy. His name was Winter, and I thought, what would be better than cold and dark? All of his spells that were offensive were going to either do cold damage or necrotic. I'm waiting for the right campaign to play him in, and his backstory is really lore-based. So, according to the lore, when tieflings die, their souls go to Asmodeus, no matter what. No matter what deity they serve, no matter what happened, what they did, what their parents were, where they were born, that's it. And Asmodeus will devour them and destroy them for his own personal gains. The thing is, my tiefling would have discovered that this was his fate, and decided to go to necromancy in order to prevent that, because a life wasted to just be food is no justified source for him or his brethren. So his plan was to pursue the knowledge of lichdom for the purpose of creating a way to free themselves from the torments of their afterlife, the cessation of their abilities, the just flat out nothingness that happens just to their race, that doesn't happen to anyone else's. This would bring him to go about learning how to create a phylactery, finding a way to build his own lichdom. If it was ever to come to fruition, I believe Winter is not an evil person, but he is trying to find a way to bring his life to have meaning and not suffer his entire race to this one incredibly hurtful demise. So the concept was he would teach other tieflings how to become liches and create a certain kind of a trap for the bodies, a magical sealing way to prevent them from ever leaving physically that casing, but allowing them to astral project themselves and to just be able to just explore the vastness of space and other realms and other domains, other deities' homelands, other planes of existence, without being able to cause harm. The first and foremost would be the difficult task of finding out how to become a lich, and then secondly, how to bind them and erase the dangerous spells that they can cast, or maybe just removing or obliterating those memories or those spell books or whatever it is as a price to have actual eternal rest and be able to see these wonderful things for the rest of existence like every other race can get. That was a concept I was working around. I thought it was a really cool idea. I think tieflings really give you this availability to be that character that, yeah, you're stuck being horrible. Everything's been bad to you your whole life, but you want to do something good. Maybe you want to do something for yourself or some other person. And this is a really great jump off point because you have that edgy, everything's been against me my whole life, this angst, this suffering, and you can turn that into so many different avenues with a tiefling. You can create incredibly great paladins, you can create fighters, arcane tricksters, warlocks, sorcerers, bards. There is nothing more attention grabbing than a tiefling walking into a tavern dressed in bright colors, just singing this great great song and forcing everyone to watch. And then using thaumaturgy to just change the way everything works. Blowing windows open and doors as he enters, creating this grandiose entrance that only a tiefling could do. Those kinds of things really broaden this wonderful idea of what you can do. Every bard tiefling is going to be expected to be a whispers bard. Dangerous. Whispers bards probably wouldn't want tieflings as whispers bards because it's too obvious. But it's a great way for you to be other things. Maybe you're political. Maybe you're just dark and you're part of an aesthetic of an eviler political figure, and you're a lore bard and you do their bidding, and it's a great way to use intimidation to get things done. There's a lot of things you can do. This class really gives you this way to be this sinister and just vile and out for your own self, and it's built that way. You're built to be that way. And one of the redeeming qualities that not everything else gets is if a tiefling befriends you, that tiefling will not give up on you. That friendship is incredibly hard to gain, and once earned is not breaking. That is a great thing. That really makes this character true. You know, it makes it like a real loner that just has to deal with all these things by themselves and doesn't have the benefit of having families. Their families abandon them. They're thrown into the streets. They breed true. So if they have children, they know that the mothers of these children will probably do the same thing, or they won't want any kind of recollection if anything goes bad with them. Like, what if you leave as a bard and you don't know you impregnated a woman? That child will be tiefling. And whether or not the rest of the townspeople are going to support her or be, you know, friend to her and help her, or they're going to demonize her for fraternizing with you, you know, being around you and producing this kind of an offspring. People hate them. It's dangerous for them. As a tiefling, do you want to father someone, knowing no matter what happens, that's how the world will see you? It's a great dynamic that could really affect how your decisions are made. Maybe you need to get away from the world. Maybe that's why you became an adventurer. It's all there and so easy to grasp. The only thing you really need to do is understand and embrace that part of the character. That is going to be one of the better parts of the character if you let the world be hard on you, because it's really going to tie together the other people in your party who are probably going through the same thing, or maybe one of them gets betrayed by some sort of entity. You know what that feels like. You can sympathize that, and it brings you close. Our final thoughts. The tiefling is one of the races that gives you this great aesthetic to look like anything. If you choose a different layer of hell, you might want to look more like that kind of a tiefling. You want horns, you want hooves, you want extra fingers, you want a tail. Awesome. You can have all those great things. You can customize them so no two tieflings ever look the same. And it gives you this varied, real distinction between them because they are different. They have certain ability scores that are different. Their spells that they're inherently gained are different. What you do with them is going to be wild. I do encourage you to kind of be charisma based, because charisma is your own kind of confidence. It's this power of self, and you need that as a tiefling. You should be confident. You should be intimidating. Your presence should be important. It should matter to you. I encourage you to keep charisma. If you don't want to, absolutely use anything else. But that's one of the better things about tieflings, is they can do anything, and they can do it before Tasha's. They've been able to do this for a long time. It's a great ability. It's a rarity. I think it was a template for how some of the other ability scores and the way the races were going to be, so that way everyone can pick something and do something with class, with the race, and be different from just being kind of locked into what races might be beneficial to what classes. That being said, it is an awesome experience being a tiefling. I hope all your DMs are super hard on you and not embracing, and I think they should absolutely put you through the ringer for it, because I think it's enjoyable. I, again, love D&D on hard mode, so I tend to like being punished horribly for the things I've done, because I definitely deserve it. So, if you've made it this far, thank you so much. We really appreciate everything you do. Please like, share, subscribe. If you haven't, please keep commenting. The greatest thing, again, about this channel is being able to talk to you guys and hear some of the concepts, hear some of the stories, some of the players you've had in your games, and some awesome DMs that let you do incredible things. And it's just an awesome time to be involved in all of this and with all of you. And thank you so much for giving the Spooky Kid a chance.